The scene starts with two light flares coming down from the sky and brightening up the battlefield, with a flag waving and some unknown humanoid creatures glazing with crude weapons in their hands, while some human soldiers check them from sniping locations. More light flares continue to come down from the sky as the creatures now seem visible. Soldiers on horses arrive at the scene with armored tanks. Itami Yuji is introduced as a 33-year-old otaku who brags about it. He goes on to say that he works to support his hobbies, and if he is told to pick between both, he says that he'll prioritize his hobbies. Saturday, 11:30 a.m., in a busy city, with people moving around, doing business and other activities. Itami is checking out his smartphone on a train, whose next stop is Shimbashi. He suddenly thinks of himself in armor, facing some monstrous-looking creatures. He takes his sword and jumps to the center of the monsters, who start to surround him. He tries to start his attack, but realizes that he can't move his body. A notification appears in front of him, telling him that he is out of energy and that he should charge with more money. He expresses his surprise while the monsters surround him and start to beat him down. He gets a game over notification as he returns to his normal self on the train. As he expresses his frustration, the train stops and the door opens at 11:40 a.m. A little girl keeps on staring at a signpost, which seems like something else to her, while Itami follows the due processes to leave the train station. The normal train station announcements continue, while Itami, who's tired, motivates himself to go for the big event that only happens once a year. He hits his head on a pillar and falls to the ground, only to start seeing things out of the fantasy world while the people around look at him on the ground. A guy comes to ask him if he is okay. As Itami sits up, he picks up Itami's phone and asks him if he is also going to the doujinshi sale and exhibit because of the type of phone case he's using. At 11:50 a.m., the imaginary building entrance the little girl was seeing becomes visible to everyone, while the people around look at it thinking about what it is and asking if it is a movie prop. A dragon suddenly flies out of it, while Itami on another end continues to check out his game on an escalator. He reaches the top and starts to feel that something is wrong. Some soldiers in ancient military wear, and monsters come out from this entrance and start to attack as the people around start to run away from the area. Itami looks through a window at the train station and sees the whole scene. He screams that it's impossible as he runs in the other direction, thinking that the event will be cancelled if the situation continues. He reaches outside and sees a lady crouching in fear. He tells her to run if she doesn't want to die. A police officer shoots at one of the enemy soldiers riding a dragon. He falls to the ground where he got hit and immediately stands to attack the police officer with a short sword in his hand. Itami intercepts the enemy, puts him in a chokehold, and stabs him with his short sword, while the police officer and the other people around look at him surprised. The police officers try to direct the citizens in the chaotic situation as Itami tries to advise the officers on what to do, while the enemies continue to kill the people around them and hit the locked entrance to where the people are. The gate of the Imperial Palace opens as the people rush in, and combat police officers arrive at the scene to protect the citizens. The enemies go into formation as their leader discusses with his assistant where they are and what they want to do. The police officers barricade the entrance of the Imperial Palace where the people are with their shield formation, while they give Itami an update on their force that has been released to destroy the enemies. The military men start their operation as the helicopters shoot down the dragons in the sky, while soldiers in snipping locations and from armored vehicles shoot at the monsters and the enemy soldiers on the ground as their formation breaks. They start to get killed. Itami enters the area where the citizens are to see parents calming their crying children and everyone doing their best to calm down. He sees a little girl alone, looking around with tears in her eyes. He walks up to her and asks her if she is looking for her parents, which she nods. He stretches his hand to her and offers to help her search for them. She takes his hand while he looks around as he thinks about how he wasn't able to make it to the event. Several days later, the Ministry of Defense gave Itami a promotion to the rank of second lieutenant for his brave feat during the incident and named him the hero of Ginza and the hero of Nijubashi. As the people applauded him, they present him with commendation while he thinks about the cancellation of the doujinshi event with tears in his eyes. Itami sees a newspaper and discovers that he is on the headline. He watches the news and sees his commendation ceremony, which makes him scream out in frustration. He goes out to jog, but gets disturbed by an officer from Camp Nyoro. He introduces himself as Kurata and starts to persistently ask Itami about how it feels to be famous while jogging on with him. After a while, the frustrated Itami screams at him to shut up. In the dining room, Itami tells Kurata about the cancellation of the event and how he doesn't have any day off like before. While they eat and discuss work, ambition, and hobbies. Kurata tells him that he was at the event, which makes Itami hold on to him while he tries to escape from him, thinking he is into men. Later that day, Kurata and another officer bring in the Self-Defense Force uniform and give Itami his uniform while he questions them about it. The Prime Minister gives a speech on the situation to the whole nation, telling them about their intentions to send soldiers into the gate to investigate and negotiate with the enemies on the other end. The American president also gave a speech that they are willing to support Japan. 3 months later, family and friends of the deceased people mourn them at a section set out for them close to the gate. The Japanese Self-Defense Force is set at the front of the gate while the new Prime Minister gives them a speech for the mission they are about to undertake. After the speech, the commander of the force, Hazama, gives the soldiers a breakdown of how things will be once they enter the gate. Itami looks to the mourning area and sees the little girl there beside a woman in black. The barrier used to lock the gate opens as they enter into armored vehicles and move straight into the gate. Kurata calls Itami the second lieutenant and asks if they will be seeing cat girls on the other end, which he affirms as they enter the world that the gate connects them to. They notice the enemies and immediately prepare to intercept them. At the Imperial Palace in the world on the other side of the gate, Marquis Cassel confronts the Emperor, telling him that they lost about 60% of their empire's military, stating that it is an embarrassment and asking him how he would guide the state. Emperor Molt stops him and tells him to think about how the people feel. He tells Marquis Cassel and the other vassals in the court that it is time to work together to fight the enemy that has already captured the gates. One of the elders comes out to ask the king what they will do because the enemy destroyed all the forces they sent to confront them. The other vassals in the court start to argue about what to do and how they can defeat their enemy. The king raises his hand to stop their arguments. He tells them that he doesn't want to sit idle. He tells them to attack the enemies. Marquis Cassel walks closer to the emperor and tells him that it will be a bloodbath, but the emperor looks at him and smiles. Duran sits on his horse and looks around. One of his subordinates comes to inform him that they have spotted some enemy scouts. Duran tells him to leave them be as he rides off to join his soldiers, saying that they must hurry to meet the kings. Later in the evening, Duran and the other lords discuss the front line and argue about whose army will confront the enemies, because most of them believe they can easily defeat the enemy with numbers. The next morning, the forces selected for the front line move out to act as enemies from another world. They march onwards disregarding the Keep Out signboard. They get bombarded with bombs which take out approximately 10,000 soldiers of the Allied Kingdom's first attack. Duran looks at the battlefield filled with dead warriors and asks about the King of Alguna, the King of Mudwan, and Duke Ligu, who led the soldiers in the attack. The second offensive attack occurs with the soldiers on dragons getting shot at and those walking on the ground getting bombarded. The second offensive resulted in approximately 40,000 soldiers dead. Later in the evening, the remaining lords discuss with Duran about the situation and ask him why the Imperial army has not joined them. They discuss retreating, but Duran tells them that they can't run away until they have their revenge. He suggests that they attack at midnight. The soldiers set out at midnight to attack, but suddenly bright light flares shine in the sky. Duran immediately orders the knights and footmen to keep running forward as he rides onward. The enemy's attacks start to come in, but Duran screams that they should keep moving forward. He hits a barbed wire fence of the enemies and falls off his horse. His soldiers run to help him as they make a shield formation to stop the enemy's attack, but it isn't enough to stop bullets. Duran looks at where the attacks are coming from and out of despair walks forward, picks up a bow and arrow to shoot in the direction. He starts to laugh like a crazed man until a bomb hits the area and he blows up into pieces. After the battle, Itami and some other soldiers go to the battleground where vultures are feeding on the dead people to see the situation and discuss what type of people they are fighting. At the Imperial Palace, a vassal of the Emperor gives him the update of the casualties of the other kingdoms and the other situations on the front line. The king replies that everything is going according to plan. He tells the vassal that they should burn down all the villages and towns between Alnus and the Imperial City by poisoning their wells and taking their food and livestock, saying that it will stop any army and leave them vulnerable. He explains the strategy to the vassal while also discussing how to destroy the members of the Senate. With the opportunity, he says that he will allow the members of the council to investigate. His daughter Pina comes in and confronts her father about what he is doing with everything that is happening. The vassal tries to explain to her, but she interrupts him. Her father calls her name to calm her. He tells her that she is correct, but they are ignorant about the enemies they are facing. He tells her to investigate the enemies with her order, and after a few words, she heeds his command. The Americans hold a meeting with their president to discuss what Japan is doing and what they will do while anticipating Japan's defeat on the other side of the gate. At the Japanese Self-Defense Force 5th Division tent, the commander tells Itami that they need to investigate the people, industries, religion, and politics of the region. He tells Itami that he's the one that will go, which he immediately rejects and says that he can't go alone. He replies to Itami that he won't go alone and tells him that they will form 6 deep recon teams and he will be in charge of one of the teams. The commander instructs Itami that he should make contact with the townspeople in his area and determine their nature to know if they can pursue a friendly relationship with them. Itami answers him and immediately grants him command over the recon team 3. He meets up with his team who salute him and then they move out to their designated locations. At Koda Village, they check out the village and make friendly connections with the villagers. They move to the next location as Kurata and Itami discuss the fantasy world, their expectations, and the fantasy characters they fancy the most, while the other team members hear them from the communication device. While they drive on, they continue to discuss their old model weapons with Sergeant Major Kuwabara as they follow the map given to them at the Koda village. After a while, they notice that the forest is on first. They use their binoculars to inspect the situation and discover a dragon spewing fire all over the place. Kuribayashi comes to Itami to ask what they should do. After some discussions and studying the behavior of the dragon as it leaves, Itami commands them to move out to check the settlement in the location that got set on fire. The next morning after the fire has gone out, Itami and his team start to inspect the area. Kuwabara prays for some corpses, while Kuribayashi comes to give Itami the information about the houses there and the corpses they have found, while giving him her suggestion because the people are fewer than the houses in the settlement. They discuss what to do next about the dragon, while Itami throws a fetcher into a well to get some water. The sound of it hitting the water makes him and Kuribayashi look into the well, only to discover an elvish-looking girl in it. Itami goes down the well with a rope to save the unconscious survivor in it. The other team members use their vehicle to drag them out of the well. He tells his team that the survivor needs a rescue, while he thinks to himself that she isn't human, but an elf. Kurokawa checks her vitals, which seem to be okay. She tells Kuribayashi to remove the elf's wet clothes, which she removes with scissors to cut. Kurata expresses the joy of seeing a female blonde elf to Itami, who is quietly removing the well water that entered his boot, while Kurata keeps on ranting. Kurokawa comes to give Itami an update on the elf, telling him that she's out of mortal danger, which he says is fine. She continues to ask what they are to do next. He tells her to first find him a new pair of boots and that they can't leave the elf there because the settlement there has been destroyed. She talks about his weird and odd interests and that she is an elf, which the three of them laugh over before heading out. Itami orders that they return to the Alna station via the Koda village, while Kurata asks him if they'll meet the fire dragon before they meet any cat girl, which Itami tells him not to jinx it. At the Koda village, Itami tells the people in the village that a dragon wiped out the settlement they told him about, which surprises the people. He also tells them that they saved a girl, which he shows to the village head. He asks him if she can stay in the village, but the village head rejects and tells him that they can't take in an elf and that they too have to flee the village, because once the fire dragon tastes flesh, it will continue to attack villages and towns. The villagers start to run around with their important loads and prepare to leave the settlement. At the house of Wizard Kato on the outskirts of the Koda village, Kato and his student Lele pack their important books into a cart, while Kato keeps on ranting about the fire dragon coming 50 years earlier and also disturbing their daily life. They discuss some irrelevant issues for a while and prepare to move. Lele strikes the horse to move, but they discover that the load is too heavy for the horse to move. Kato removes his staff to use magic, but Lele reminds him that he said, "Magic is sacred some minutes ago and shouldn't be used for such things." She continues to say that the situation they are in is different. She removes her staff and she uses her magic to make the cart float while the horse pulls in. On the road, Kato and Lele meet the other carts and people stuck on the road. One of the villagers calls to them and tells them that one of the carts was carrying too much load, which caused its axle to break, and it is blocking movement on the road. Itami and some other soldiers run around the area to help the people evacuate, while Kato notices that he does not understand the language they are speaking, and Lele notes the clothes they are wearing too. Itami tells Kurokawa to make sure no one is injured. Lele tells Kato, her master, that she'll be back as she leaves the cart to go check the situation, while Kato tells her to wait. Lele runs to the scene to see a horse fallen with the cart, and a little girl gasping on the ground. She runs up to the little girl and states that she is in danger while coming over to inspect the child. She describes the situation of the girl, while Lele looks at her as a doctor. Suddenly the horse becomes violent and stands to attack Lele and Kurokawa, but it gets shot by Kuwabara. Lele looks at the fallen horse and the soldiers and thinks to herself that they saved her, while on another end, Kurata asks about how long they will be taking care of the people and about their leaders. Itami tells him that the village head tells him that their lords did not come back after they were sent to Alnus Hill to fight. In the night, some bandits discuss the Koda villagers who are on the run and how they will successfully plunder them, while the bandit leader talks about himself becoming a lord. The leader gets stabbed and falls as he is talking, while the other members start to fret. A girl with cat ears holding a large scythe thanks them for giving their lives selflessly as she starts to kill them. She introduces herself as Rory Mercury, apostle to the dark god, Employ, while the remaining members note that the uniform she is wearing is the Employ Shrine Oracle uniform. They start to run while she chases, swinging her scythe and killing them with whatever means she wants. The next morning, the Koda villagers continue to move their loads and carts on the road. Kurokawa tells Itami that the elf girl's vitals are fine, which he replies. Kurata, who's driving, talks about the destination of the villagers, asking if they have one, which Itami tells him that they probably don't have, while the people outside continue to struggle to move their carts through the mud. Kurata and Itami continue to discuss refugees, as Itami recalls, when he made the family that owned the cart with the broken axle burn their cart. Kurokawa confronts him about it, but he replies like the leader that he is giving her logical reason why he did such a thing. Itami notices a lot of crows through the binoculars from inside their vehicle. He looks around a bit and sees Rory, who he says is a gothic Lolita girl, which makes Kurata immediately use his binoculars to check it out. Rory walks up to their vehicle and asks where they are from and where they are going, but they do not understand the language. The children at the back of their vehicle jump out and run towards her, saying she's an oracle. The older villagers tell her about their situation, while it looks to Itami and his team that the villagers are praying to her. Rory notices Itami and walks to the vehicle while asking the villagers who the strange people are. One of the kids responds to her that they saved them and they are good people. Rory asks if they are not being forced out of their village. She also asks about how the vehicle works, which the kid responds to that he doesn't know, but if it is more comfortable in it than in a cart. Rory sits on Itami's legs in the vehicle while he tries to force her off, while Kurata expresses his jealousy. They continue to move as Kurata notes that the scenery is changing, which Itami responds to that they are already far away from the village. Itami looks around the area and looks at the sun, saying it is hotter than in Japan. While still looking at the sun, the fire dragon comes into view, and he immediately alerts the battle stations. The fire dragon that's holding another small dragon in its mouth devours it and starts to breathe fire at the villagers, destroying their carts and attacking the people. The defense forces starts to shoot at it, but the bullets are not working. It breathes fire at them, which they struggle to evade, while Itami starts to think of how to kill it. The elf girl stands from where she is lying and tries to tell Itami to attack its eyes. After a while of her saying it in her language while pointing to her eyes, Itami understands and notices an arrow in one of its eyes. He immediately orders all his unit members to aim at the fire dragon's eyes. After a while of shooting at it, the dragon stops moving. Itami immediately orders Kasumoto to shoot a missile at it. He misses but gets assisted by Rory, who makes it possible with her scythe. The missile hits the arm of the dragon and destroys it, which makes it scream aloud before flying away, while they stop their vehicles to rest. In the evening, they bury the dead villagers with little bits of light flying around the grave. Itami looks back and notices a little girl crying. He puts his hand on her head as she cries while remembering the girl he stretched him to when he was in Japan. One of his team members informs him that most of the survivors are going to their relatives nearby or taking refuge at a village or town somewhere while they discuss the casualties. The village head apologizes that he can't take care of everyone by himself and thanks Itami and his team for their help before they all set out to continue their journey while waving at them. Itami looks back and sees the kids and old folks left behind for them to take care of, which he states will be fine while he smiles at them. The scene starts several days before the elf girl becomes the sole survivor of her village. The narrator mentions her name to be Tuka Luna Marceau. Her father hurriedly runs from the woods to her room to tell her to get up and run. The fire dragon arrives at their settlement and starts to breathe fire on them. The elves try to shoot their arrows at it, but they all get burnt by its fire. Tuka and her father run towards a well. Her father carries her and tells her to hide in the well before throwing her into it. The dragon comes from behind to take her father while she screams and wakes up from her dream. She looks around where she is and sees Kurokawa, who greets her good morning, while Itami tells her that they will soon reach their destination. In a certain village, one of the Koda village survivors running an inn tells her customers about the feat of Itami's team defeating and chasing away the fire dragon, which the people there did not believe because it sounds absurd. In the same inn, Pina, who is Emperor Malt's daughter, is in the inn with her order members as they discuss the rumor of the fire dragon, which is going around like wildfire. They pay the innkeeper to tell them who defeated the fire dragon, and she immediately starts to explain their weapons of war to them in her own words. Itami and his team arrive at their base. In the commander's room, he shouts at Itami for bringing the refugees with him while he thinks about what to do. The lieutenant general receives a report from his subordinate, who tells him that the language is giving them trouble, but they have made peaceful first contact. He continues to tell the lieutenant general that most of them appear to be human, while giving him more updates on their findings, which have all been documented in the files handed to him. He also talks about their political structure and asks if some of the refugees Itami brought back can be brought in for questioning, which the lieutenant general rejects, but after some convincing words from his subordinate, he accepts the plan, saying that it is fine with him. At the commander's office, he tells Itami that they have been allowed to take in refugees on humanitarian grounds, while telling him to provide for them and observe them before screaming at him to get going. Itami instructs Kuribayashi and Kurokawa to get some rations, while Kurata and Tomita go get tents from the post engineer, and he will handle the paper. Lieutenant Yanagita calls Itami as he sees him walk past him with his team members, telling him to come with him. On getting outside, Yanagita confronts Itami for not checking in after defeating the dragon because he did not want to get told to abandon the refugees. Itami just puts up some excuses that he thought up on the spot. The others continue to set up the tent, while Yanagita continues his talk with Itami about the land they are in and how the other countries of the world will probably also want a piece of the treasure. He tells Itami that he is the one closest to the information they need, while telling him that he will be given a great amount of freedom to act in a few days while walking off. The next day, Kato and the other refugees introduce themselves to Itami and his team while they document them. After the introduction, Itami tries to tell them in their language that they want to build houses for them, and the building work starts immediately as excavators start to level the region where the houses would be built, while Kato and Lele look at them, not knowing what is going on. Kato goes to sleep while Lele walks about looking at what is going on. She sees and walks up to Tuka, who is also looking at the machinery, working and wishing that her father could see it. Lele goes to the kitchen where the food is being prepared. She looks around the area. They gather the refugees to eat outside, and Itami tells them to start eating, which they do. Kato expresses how delicious and soft the bread is, while he looks at Lele, who is trying to say what the soldiers say before eating. The president of another country, Dong Daecho, expresses his displeasure at the fact that the gate opened in Japan. He tells his people to maintain a friendly relationship with Japan and see where it will lead them. The media starts to question the Prime Minister of Japan, asking him about the JSDF, their activities, and casualties in the special region, which the Prime Minister does his best to answer. They also criticized his vice for leaving out such important details when he was asked questions, but the Prime Minister defended his vice by giving them reasons they couldn't counter. Several days later at the special region, Itami hurriedly runs to the indoor bath to take a dip as he enjoys his bath. Tuka, Lele, and Rory also enter to take their baths as they discuss Tuka's recovery, Lele's understanding of the soldiers' language, and telling them things she found out, and some other conversations. On another end, Pina enters a room to see Duran lying helpless on a bed, with his left leg and arm gone. She tells him about how she got information about him being there, but he asks her if she didn't know or hear about what happened at Alnus, how the Imperial army was defeated before they could even fight. He continues to tell the princess that the Emperor used the enemies to defeat the Allied force because they were potential threats to his empire. He goes on to tell her that the true enemy was in the rear, which is the Empire. Pina tries to ask him for information, but he tells her to go to the Alnus Hill to get whatever information she wants. Pina comes out of the building looking sad. Hamilton tells her not to order the knights to charge up Alnus Hill, which she responds to, that she is not stupid, but also says that they still have to visit the place. Pina tells Norma to give orders to the main unit to move out. While she asks Gray what is up ahead, he tells her that Italica is between them and Alnus. At the JSDF base, Itami successfully connects to the network and starts to rant about updating his game, while Kuribayashi and Kurokawa call him. He continues to look at his smartphone until he gets kicked by Kuribayashi to gain his attention. Kurokawa tells him about the situation with Tuka and the probable reasons for what is going on with her. Outside the lodging, Rory asks Tuka why she seemed down, and she responds that she doesn't know how to fend for herself when they finally have to live on their own. Lily comes from behind in an overall dress and face mask and asks them to follow her. She takes them to where the Emperor and its allies fought the JSDF. Lily tells them that Itami told her that they could take all the dragon scales on the battlefield and that they don't need them, which surprises Tuka because those scales are very costly. The dragon scales are put in the vehicle, and Kurata asks why they are doing logistics duties, which Itami gives him reasons that he can't counter while checking out his smartphone. Rory and Lele enter the back of the vehicle, but Tuka is reluctant to follow them. Kurokawa puts her hand on Tuka's shoulder with a smile on her face to show support, while Lele tells her that it will be okay. She tells her that the people in green will take care of the fire dragon if it comes again, as she stretches her hand to pull Tuka in. On the other end, Pina and her order ride their horses journeying to a particular destination, while Itami and the ladies also journey to Italica. Yanagita receives information from the Lieutenant General that the Diet wants to hear about what caused the civilization casualties from the superior officer on the scene. He also asks about Itami, whom Yanagita says to the General that he just left for Italica. The three armored vehicles of Team 3 continue moving as they study the map they acquired. Kuwabara and Lele discuss the map as he shows her a binocular and how to use it, while Tuka gazes at Kurokawa, whom Rory notices and playfully asks if that is her type. They notice some smoke coming from a distant place and stopping their vehicles for a while. Itami asks Kurata about the roads leading to the smoke, while Lele uses the binoculars to see the smoke. Itami informs his team members in the other vehicles that they are moving forward and that they should keep a close eye on the sky, while Rory puts out her head beside Itami, which makes him ask what it is, and she replies that she smells blood. In Countess Formar's territory, the city is being attacked by a large group of bandits, while Princess Pina commands the warriors to defend their city from behind the walls. After a while, the bandits retreat while the princess comes down from the top of the wall, asking Hamilton about her well-being. They walk up a stair, as Hamilton asks her why they are fighting bandits, and she expresses her frustrations while still stating her reasons before telling the city dwellers to go prepare for the return of the bandits. She tells them that her knights will arrive in 2 days and they have to hold off the bandits till then. The princess sits in a nice room for nobles. The man in charge of the city comes and asks her how they can stop the fighting, which she rudely but calmly replied, saying the possible ways and outcomes of those choices, while he stands still watching her talk. One of the maids brings food for the princess, which she tastes and complains about the flavor, while the maid tells her that flavor will only make an exhausted person ill. Pina asks her if she already experienced something like the war going on, while she eats the food. After she finishes her food, she tells them that she will be in the guest room, and that any important information should be sent directly to her. Pina thinks of the present situation, where there aren't trained warriors in the city, and it is her first mission. She starts to recall when she was very young. She brings together girls in her age bracket and tells them that they are now members of her order. She asks Gray to train them on the important things that he does. After some time, the Emperor establishes them as the Rose Knight Order. After they grew older, with more members including Gray himself, but she realizes that her father doesn't send her and the others on missions, but always uses them as honor guards, which she always expresses her frustration in front of Gray, while he tries to always calm her down. She recalls her father gave her the mission she is on now and how they have been allowed to fight, but the maid pours some water on her to wake her, and she immediately asks if the enemies are back. Gray replies and tells her that he is not sure if they are allies or enemies, but asks that she follow him. On getting to the gate, they look out through the inspection spot on the gate to see the 3 armored vehicles, which they have no idea what it is, while Norma, who is on top of the walls, asks them who they are. After a while, the door of the vehicle in front opens, as Lele comes out first, followed by Tuka, and then Rory, while the princess, who is seeing everything, explains to her people that the combination of the 3 is not one. They should fight. She starts to open the door to welcome them, but finds out that she has knocked someone out with the gate. Tuka pours water on the unconscious Itami, while blaming Pina for it, and talking down on her, while Rory and Lele gather around him. A call from his team enters his comm device, but he doesn't reply, which makes them start to worry. After a while, he wakes up and asks them if they are inside the gates before another call enters, and replies to his team, who are about to rush in. He informs them that he will find out where they stand and then contact them. He looks around and immediately asks for an explanation, while the citizens look at the princess, who seems surprised as Hamilton tries to defend her and tell everyone that Pina is the imperial princess. Princess Pina starts to explain the situation to Itami and the girls, about how the last count died suddenly, and how the 3 daughters he left behind are fighting for dominance and other aspects of the city's situation while they walk to the room of the current ruler of Italica and Countess of Former. She opens the door, and they see an 11-year-old girl named Mayui. Pina continues to tell them that since Miui is too young to lead an army, she is taking command in Miui's stead. After that, they sit together, while Itami tells them that they will assist them because they can't sell the dragon scales they came to sell with the present situation of the city. Pina accepts their offer to help and tells them to help guard the south gate of the city. The Recon Team 3 immediately move into position while the princess and Hamilton look at them and discuss them defeating the fire dragon and their decision to let them in, which Pina justifies that they had no choice. Itami calls the commander to tell him they won't be coming back that day, which makes him angry as he screams on the call and asks him why he isn't concerned about it, and the diet summons. Itami goes on to tell him that he has a request. Later in the evening, Itami and Kuwabara use their binoculars to check the scouts of the bandits while they estimated the number of the enemy. They discuss the strategy of the princess and what they are going to do. Itami tells them to prepare their campfires, while Kuribayashi comes to give him his night goggles. He orders Furuta and the other officers on the line of defense. Rory calls him and asks why he is helping the princess of an empire that is supposed to be his enemy. He replies that it is to protect the townspeople. She asks if he's serious, and he tells her that he thinks so. She walks up to him as he struggles to set his night goggles in place to assist him. She holds the helmet for him as he sets it with ease. He continues to discuss his reason with her and tells her that he also wants the princess to know that it is better to be friends with them than to try and fight them. Rory smiles and says that she likes the idea of terror. She says she will help them, while Itami is trying to defend what he said as not terror intended. At nighttime, Norma looks on from his post and notices the enemies shooting burning arrows at them. He orders the archers to shoot at the bandits and some people to go tell the princess that the bandits are attacking from the east gate. Information reaches the princess and the Recon Team 3 that the enemies are attacking the east gate. At the east gate, the bandits continue to shoot at the wall, while Norma orders the archers to shoot at them so they don't get closer to the gate. They suddenly notice a spirit wielder helping the bandits, which turns the tides of the battle as the bandits start to climb the walls into the city. The bandits that enter the city open the east gate for the others, while the princess and her people run to an area where they can view the battle. The bandits enter the city and throw 2 dead people in front of the armed citizens behind their barricades. One of the angry citizens attacks the bandits while the others follow after him. The princess shouts that they should stop, but her voice does not reach the ears of the angry people, as thinks to herself that the JSDF people won't help them because she sent them on a suicide mission to guard the south gate. At the JSDF base, the lieutenant commander discusses with the combat team leaders that Recon Team 3 has received a request from the City of Italica's representative to provide support for local peacekeeping operations, and the team is requesting additional backup. While the leaders start to nominate their teams, the lieutenant commander prioritizes speed and then decides on Combat Team 4 to go back them up. The helicopters move out immediately. At Italica, the bandits keep on entering through the opened gate, while Norma strikes them down, while commanding the city's untrained warriors to defend the area with their lives. He continues to fight, only to get outnumbered and killed. The bandit leader declares his death to the others to motivate his men before throwing Norma's body down from the top of the wall. The bandit leader continues to give his speech to rally up his men as they beat their swords and spears on their shields and continue to eliminate those who stand in their way. Someone says that the knight Norma has been slain, which makes the princess angry, while she couldn't do anything. On Itami's end, Rory is expressing some sexual noises and actions, which makes Itami ask Lele what is happening to her. She replies and tells him that the souls of the soldiers being killed on the battlefield are sent to employ through her body, which is affecting her like an aphrodisiac would, and she says that the probable solution is for her to fight. Itami instructs Kuribayashi to stay with Rory, but Rory immediately jumps down and runs quickly towards the battlefield, while Itami, Kuribayashi, and some other officers follow her with a vehicle. Itami contacts the combat team to tell them that the enemies are at the east gate. He tells them that he will mark the target with a flare. One of the officers informs their leader in the helicopter that they will reach the mission zone in 5 minutes, and they immediately start to make preparations to attack. The leader instructs them all to move into attack formation and tells them to start the music. An officer plays the music titled Rise of the Valkyrie, which they all listen to while moving on and preparing to attack. On Itami's end, he tells Kuribayashi to remove her V8s so she doesn't break them and gets yelled at before shooting a flare into the air towards the enemies to notify the combat team of the targets. A well-built bandit uses his Morning Star to hit some of the city's defenders while the other bandits scream to follow him. Rory lands in their midst. The bandit with his Morning Star tries to hit her but immediately gets defeated, which makes everyone look at her in awe. After a little while, a missile hits the gate and destroys it, and some of the bandits are there as the officers in the helicopters shoot at the bandits and also bombard them with bombs. The leader of the mission, Oscar, informs the others to restrict their shooting to outside the gate because they have friendlies on the inside. He instructs another helicopter to destroy the enemies that were loading their trebuchet weapons. They shoot down the weapon while the others continue to shoot down the bandits. Tuka talks about the explosions and asks if it's magic. Lele tells her it's impossible with magic while walking down. Kurokawa asks her where she is going, and she replies that she wants to get a closer look. The helicopters continue to shoot down enemies on the outside, while Rory takes on the enemies inside, while destroying their battle formations. She gets assisted by Kuribayashi, who rushes into the battle, while Itami and the other team of 3 officers with him protect them by killing enemies beyond their reach. The bandit leader looks down angrily at the scene from the top of the wall, not knowing what to do until a bomb hits the area, which propels him into the air as he gets impaled on Rory's scythe. He tells Rory that he refuses to accept it and asks her if the war can be called one before she finishes him off while he is demanding an answer from her. The bandits start to panic as they see their leader get killed, but another bandit tells them not to panic and that they should regroup. One of the helicopter officers, Hunter 1, tells Itami to evacuate the area on a count of 10 and that he is going to shoot at the enemies inside the gate. Itami immediately carries Rory while the other officer carries Kuribayashi as they run from the area while the countdown is on. As the countdown ends, Hunter 1 immediately rains down bullets on the bandits inside the gate while the princess and other citizens look at the helicopter in awe. The princess calls it the Iron Pegasus and tries to call it a power that denies pride, honor, and everything else. She continues to ask if the goddess is mocking them as rants on about it while looking at the helicopter in the sky. The helicopters drop ropes as officers come down with them to keep a close eye on the perimeter and rescue the survivors. Yoga tells the colonel that the enemy forces have been wiped out and there are no enemies in the vicinity, which he tells them is well done. The citizens of the town come up to the officer to thank them for saving their town and ask which army they are. The officer responds to them that they are the JSDF. The princess continues to think about the brigands that are all dead and what the JSDF is while a helicopter turns in her direction. Rory notices that Itami's hand is on her chest. As he is still carrying her, she taps him and smiles at him while he smiles back before she hits him. The JSDF officers help the citizens to clean up the battlefield while Pina, Hamilton, and Gray cover Norma's corpse with his sword on it as they discuss the victory, which Pina claims belongs to the priestess of employ and the JSDF, not her. She continues to say that the JSDF is their enemy that is still occupying the Alnus Hill, while she tells them that they won't be able to defeat them. She says that if they ask them to surrender, she'll immediately kneel and kiss the soles of their feet. The next day, Hamilton negotiates for the princess and the people, while Lele interprets what the JSDF wants from them, and they later have an agreement. Pina explains the whole agreement to Gray, who thought the JSDF would occupy the city, but finds out that they didn't gain anything for helping them other than asking for some prisoners. Hamilton keeps on looking into a paper to understand something as Itami selects some prisoners of his choice, and Kuribayashi complains that they are all girls. He says with a smile that it is a coincidence while the helicopters take off and the people thank them as they wave goodbye. Itami and his officers wait behind for the girls who have gone to sell the dragon scales. At Liudo the merchant's place, Lele passes him one of the dragon scales which he recognizes and asks how many they have. She brings out the rest and tells him 200 as they negotiate the price and medium of payment, which also includes information. After the trade, they set out to join the officers outside, and they leave the town to go back to the base in their vehicles. The girls sleep in the vehicle as Itami tells Kurata how tired he is only for them to notice the smoke of the knights of Princess Pina. The knights confront them asking who they are, but Itami immediately tells his officers not to shoot so they don't break their treaty. He comes down from his vehicle to tell them they mean no harm, but the female knights are not ready to listen. He immediately orders his officers to drive off and run, leaving him behind with the female knights. This scene starts with Kuribayashi telling Kurata that their captain might be dead, and he tells her not to jinx him. She continues to say that he was roughed up on the way back to Italica while they decide to wait till morning. At Italica, Pina throws her cup at the blonde female knight, who starts to bleed from her head as she asks them what they are doing. The girl asks her what they did wrong, and she tells them that it's obvious as she looks at the roughed-up Itami, who Hamilton is trying to wake. The princess sits and starts to think about how they violated the treaty on the day it was signed. The maids come to take Itami away, while Gray tells the princess that the JSDF might use the opportunity to attack them, which is a standard strategy. Gray advises that she apologizes to him, but she rejects it because she doesn't want to bow to him. After the reasons Gray tells her, she thinks about it. At the recon team 3's end, a member of the team tells Kuribayashi that their leader will be fine because he is a ranger. She falls to the ground and starts to scream because their leader doesn't look or behave like one who has undergone hellish training in mind and body, but the others affirm that he is one. After a while, they decide to go back to Italica City to get their leader. At the city, the armed citizens guarding the gate discuss how they hate the Imperial Knights, while Tuka, Rory, and Lely enter through the gate. They see the girls and recognize them, while Tuka smiles and waves at them. Tuka climbs to the top of the wall and puts the archer there and all the other guards on the ground to sleep with the spirit magic. All the guards fall asleep immediately, while she uses a torch to notify the recon team of 3 members to move in. Itami opens his eyes on a bed and is greeted by 4 maids. He asks them where he is, and they reply that he is in Countess Formar's mansion. He looks at one of the maids and exclaims about her cat ears. She asks him if something is wrong, and he asks her what is going on. The head maid immediately comes in and tells him not to worry, that the princess ordered them to ensure that he is treated with the greatest care, and that the knight who treated him harshly has been punished, while she continues to thank him for his help in the previous disaster. She tells him that they are willing to assist him if he wants to take revenge, but he should not just hurt Miyui, and he replies to them that he doesn't plan to do so. She thanks him and tells him that she'll be leaving the 4 maids to take care of him until he recovers. The team's 3 members get close to the area where he is, and one of the maids named Mamina hears them due to her good hearing ability. She informs the head maid, who tells her and another maid named Perzia to go welcome them in, while she tells their names and race to Itami, who's curious. She also tells him about the previous count, who had a liberal nature to hire non-human staff simply because of his taste. She tells him about Aurea, the Medusa, who drains life force. She continues on that Aurea has been trained, but tells him to still be careful around her. The team's 3 members meet Mamina and Persia, who take them to where their leader is. In the guest room, Pina talks to Bozes and Panache, who attacked Itami. She continues to tell them what their actions have caused and suggests that they make the incident not non-existent by making the blonde knight sacrifice her body to appease Itami's anger. In the room where Itami is, his team members and the maids start to get along while he and 2 of his officers discuss with each other. The blonde knight reaches his room and opens the door to see everyone taking pictures and discussing like nothing happened in the room. After a while, she starts to feel like Itami's ignoring her, who is a noble, which makes her angrily walk up to where he is lying and slaps his face. The princess asks about the hand mark on Itami's face, and the blonde girl responds that she did it. The frustrated princess starts to think of what to do to amend the situation, while an officer tells her that they have to take their leader back and tells them to work it out, while Lele interprets it to the princess. The princess tries to get them to stay till breakfast, but refuses because their leader has to attend a meeting with the higher-ups, which makes the princess more scared, because any word from Itami can bring the whole JSDF down on the Empire. She tells them that she will follow them to the Alnus Hill, and that she wishes to apologize to their superiors for violating the treaty. They prepare to leave while the princess and the blonde knight enter the vehicle with fear in their eyes. Itami receives a message from the lieutenant general that they can bring the princess and that they should treat her well. On arriving at Alnus Hill, they see officers practicing, armored tanks moving, and helicopters too, which Lele tries to explain it all to them. They get down from the vehicles, and the princess tries to talk to Itami. Itami runs off hurriedly, and Wed tells her that the girl will show them where to go. The princess and the blonde knight meet with the Yoji's Lieutenant General Hazama, with Lele there as the interpreter. Hazama asks the princess why she is with them in person, and she responds that her forces behaved inappropriately and that she has come to apologize. Hazama replies that he has read it in the reports and that it was caused by miscommunication at the lower levels. Hazama asks that if the treaty is giving her a problem, they should revisit it, but she responds and tells him that it is fine as it is. Yanagita starts to say that he heard from Itami that the blonde lady gave him a tough time with bruises and scratches on his face, which made the two ladies fret. He continues to say that Itami considers the injuries to be ones suffered in the line of duty. Yanagita asks if Itami said or did anything to deserve what she did, but she can't reply. Hazama stops him and tells him that he's making them terrified. Outside in the base, Itami tells Tuka that they want her to go beyond the gate to talk to her as the representative of her world. On the other side of the gate, she asks him if he's coming too, and he tells her yes. She asks him if he wants her to go, and immediately Rory, who has been eavesdropping, comes out from the place she has been hiding and tells him that she also wants to go. Kato also comes out of hiding to say that he also wants to go too. Later in the night, Itami finishes up the work at his office and puts it on his table, thinking about everything he has to do. He receives a message from Risa, which makes him realize that they will be in the winter period in Japan, and thinks about the winter doujinshi event. Laylee comes into his room and requests that he take her back to the camp. She falls to her knees saying she's tired. Itami walks up to her and finds out that she's asleep. He takes her to his bed to sleep. He removes the excessive clothes on her and covers her with his bed cover. He kneels beside the bed, thinking to himself that he has to get some food and sleep himself, but gradually falls asleep at the spot where he is kneeling. At the princess's lodge room, she and Boses discuss their situation and what the JSDF people want. Pina decides to go to the other side of the gate to understand things like their culture, all because it is very different from their own. The next morning, Itami, Kuribayashi, and Furuta wait outside with Rory, Lele, and Tuka, who are complaining about how heavy the clothes she is wearing are. After a while, a car arrives and Yanagita alights from it. He apologizes for coming late and opens the back door for the princess and Boses, saying to Itami that they will accompany him in secret and that he takes care of them. Itami complains about it and tells him that he didn't hear anything about it, but Yanagita tells him that the people on the other side already know about it. While he gives Itami an envelope, Lieutenant General Hazama says that he should make the girls have a good time. The barrier to the gate opens as they all prepare to enter the gate to the other side. Pina comes out on the other side of the gate to see buildings that touch the sky. The other girls start to discuss the people and how they manage their spaces to build such walls and buildings, while the princess is only concerned that the empire started a war against a civilization that could build such structures. Tuka starts to feel cold while Kuribayashi reminds her that she told her about it. Itami asks if she is okay and asks if he should get her a coat, but she says she is fine. A man calls Itami and introduces himself as Komikado from the Intel headquarters. He goes on to tell him that he has been instructed to escort him. Itami asks if he's with the public safety. He laughs and asks how he found out, and Itami responds that he made a guess. Komikado removes a small book and starts to narrate the story of Yoji Itami and how he got to where he is, while calling him a slacker and otaku at the end of it. He goes on to ask Itami how he ended up as a YES, which is a special force group modeled after the US Army's Green Berets and Delta Force, which surprises Kuribayashi as she screams while holding her head. Itami tells him that he did his homework well and explains to him how he was transferred to the group, even with his laziness. After he and Komikado finish talking, Kuribayashi screams out, asking why someone like him is a ranger and a special force, and screaming that it can't be true, while Komikado just laughs it off. Komikado salutes Itami and tells him that he has a lot of respect for him, while they all get onto a bus and move on to their destination. The girls from the other world look outside the window of the bus to look around and see what is going on. Itami takes the girls, nor well dressed, to get official dresses and to eat before they go to the Senate. Itami, Tuka, Rory, and Lele come down to the Senate, but Tomita tells the princess and the Boses that their destination is different. The princess and blonde knight meet with Shirayuri Reiko, who is the advisor to the prime minister, and Sugawara Koji, who's with the foreign ministry. Shirayuri welcomes them to the conference room and informs them that it is not a peace conference, but one to ensure that they are on the same page. At 1420 in Japan, the first question and answer session was held 4 months after the Ginza incident. An announcement is broadcasted that the session will be held in the Diet today. Itami and the girls enter the room filled with journalists and camera officials who immediately start to take their pictures while the presidents of the other interested nations tune in to watch the session. A Diet member named Kuhara Mizuki starts to talk about the refugees that the JSDF officers were protecting and asks why some of them died under their protection. Itami is called up as a witness to explain why. he stands and walks to the podium to explain it calmly, which allows Kuhara to attack him, asking him if he admits that the JSDF is at fault. Itami continues to explain to them that they lacked firepower because the bullets of the guns they had with them bounced off the body of the dragon as they shot at it, and says that he wished they had better weapons, while listing good examples. One of the members gives the result of the analysis of the dragon's scale, which they found out is as strong as tungsten, while calling the dragon a flying tank and proving that what he said was right. At 15:20, Kuhara starts to question Lele, who asks if she understands Japanese. She replies that she understands a little, while the other people exclaim that she is very young. Kuhara talks about the fact that she is a refugee at the special region and asks her if she is facing any inconveniences, which Lele replies that she doesn't, and goes on to say that everyone is not convenient. Kuhara rephrases the question and asks her if she lacks anything she requires, to which she responds that all her needs are being met, as she lists them all out. She asks if Lele feels that the JSDF contributed to the loss of the refugees that died, to which she responds no to. At 15:40, Kuhara starts to question Tuka, who introduces herself on the podium and tells them that she is an elf. Kuhara asks if the ears are real, to which she replies yes, parts her hair backward, and moves the ear. Everyone exclaimed as the news spread over the internet. Kuhara went on to ask Tuka about the dragon incident, but she replied that she did not know because she was unconscious during the incident. They call up the last witness, Rory Mercury, while Kuhara thinks to herself that she is mourning because of only her black dress-up and veil. At 15:50, Kuhara starts to question Rory. She asks for her name, which Rory responds to, and then Kuhara goes on to ask her to describe her life at the refugee camp. Rory tells her that it is very simple, as she lists her daily activities out. Kuhara says that she looks like she lost someone that matters to her, and asks her if she feels that the JSDF is responsible for it. She says that she doesn't understand the question in their language, which Lele interprets to Kuhara. Kuhara rephrases the question and asks that 1/4 of the refugees died, but none of the JSDF officers present during the incident escaped without any injuries and fatalities, while saying they prioritized themselves over those whom they should be protecting, as she asks Rory what she saw. Rory screams a question at her, asking if she's stupid, while everyone tries to protect their ears from the noisy sound that follows the shout. After the sound stops, Kuhara asks her what she said, and she replies that she asks if she is stupid, while calling her a little girl and raising her veil. Kuhara is surprised that Rory is speaking Japanese, while Rory explains the whole situation of the incident to them, saying that the JSDF did their absolute best to protect 3/4 of them, while she talks down on Kuhara and the people for asking why the JSDF did not suffer any fatalities. After a while of calling Kuhara a little girl, she responds to Rory that she doesn't have respect for elders while calling her a little girl. The angry woman starts to open her tied-up scythe, which is interrupted by Itami, who notices and gets in her way. He pushes her to her seat and explains to the people that Rory is older than everyone in the room. Kuhara asks for her age, and Rory replies that she is 961 years old. She asks Tuka, who responds that she is 165 years. She looks at Lele, who tells her that she is 15 years old. Lele continues to explain the age system of humans, elves, and Rory, who is a demigod. The personnel in charge asks Kuhara if she has any more questions, which she says no, and at 16:30, the deliberation ends. At the conference room, Sugawara tells the princess that 6,000 of their soldiers are still being held as prisoners, which surprises her. They talk about the plan to release a few to them, while he gives her a book of the list of the prisoners. Pina and the Bozes discuss the children of nobles being part of the prisoners, and ask that they allow them to check through the list, which Sugawara agrees to, and ends the meeting. Shirayuri tells the princess that it's an honor to meet her while she stretches her hand to shake her. The officer beside the princess explains the gesture, and she stands and takes Shirayuri's hand. Itami and the girls enter the bus to leave the scene, while the journalist and camera officials outside continue to take pictures of them before the bus leaves. As they were going, Komikado noticed that they had guests following them, which Itami and the girls later entered as a train, while the bus continued as a decoy. Kuribayashi and the others also meet up with Itami and the girls on the train, while Kuribayashi reports to Itami that they are panicking because they think they are taking them underground. Rory clings to Itami and explains her situation with Hardy, who controls the underground. they meet Komokado at one of the train stops, who joins them and explains the situation to Itami as the train continues to move. At the next stop, Itami tells them to get off, while Komokado runs after him to tell him that it is the wrong stop and that he shouldn't act on his own. An announcement comes in that the train won't be functioning due to an accident that happened ahead, which he immediately takes his hand off Itami. Outside the train subway, Itami and Komokado discuss the indirect acts of the enemies being a demonstration and that a direct one will be happening soon. Someone immediately runs out of nowhere and grabs Rory's tied-up scythe from her, only for him to fall because of the weight of the scythe that fell on him. Komokado calls the guy a moron and tries to lift the scythe before Itami could stop him, only for his back to dislocate. He tells them what to do next as he is moved away on a stretcher into an ambulance. Itami and the officers bow as the ambulance drives off. They start to discuss their next stop, but Itami tells them to wait a second. In a dark room, a woman talks about her financial situation while trying to stand on the floor to continue her work on the computer. Itami tells her to at least turn on the heater as he opens the door with food in his hand. The woman crawls towards him screaming for food, which he gives to her. He tells the others who are looking in from the entrance to come in. Tomita asks who the woman is, and he replies that she is his ex-wife, which they all exclaim about, while the woman hugs the food and looks at them, while Kuribayashi says that there is someone crazy enough to marry the captain. The woman screams in response to Kuribayashi, asking her who she is calling crazy, which she screams back at the ex-wife that she is the one she is referring to. She also says that their pairing is one that she can see happening. The light of the room is switched on as Rory looks at some dolls and screams that Hardy is in the room, while Lele notices the number of books. Pina and Bazis look at a thin book that they claim they have never seen, while Itami explains his situation to his ex-wife, who was working and eating the food he got her. She tells him that she understands his situation, but asks him why he dragged her into something so dangerous, which Tomita affirms, saying she is a civilian, and also asks about the fact that they dumped Komokado. Itami tells him that Komokado also seems suspicious of everything that has happened. They both discuss the possibilities of Itami's suspicion, while his ex-wife listens. She interrupts them calmly, saying that she doesn't want anything to happen here, before screaming that she has a deadline tomorrow. During the night, Itami and the girls sleep, while Tomita calls the ex-wife, whose name is Risa, and asks if she is the lieutenant's wife, to which she immediately says, ex-wife, and that they are now friends. He continues to ask how they can go back to being friends after a divorce, which she responds to with their reasons. The princess and Bozis look at a boys love manga together as they wonder what type of art it is while reading it. Itami opens his eyes to see Lele sleeping close to him and asks himself what he should do. The next morning, Rory kneels in front of a window to pray, while Itami tells the others that they're going to have fun that day, which Kuribayashi immediately counters, saying they have bigger problems while looking at Tuka on the TV. He tells them that his motto is eat, sleep, and play, and states that life is the little things you do in between. He replies to Kuribayashi's earlier claims, saying that everywhere is dangerous if the enemy knows where they are. He says that they will be safer around a lot of people, and Risa immediately suggests that they go shopping. Risa looks at the girls and tells them that they need a lot of things, as she tries to coerce them into it. Itami tells them that he is also going to Akihabara, which Kuribayashi complains about, but he shuts her up while Bozis whispers some things into Tomita's ear. He tells Itami that Bozis wants to go to the library to research their world's literature, and Pina also wants to go shopping. Itami thinks for a while and tells them that they'll split up for the morning and meet at Shinjuku Station at 14 Waum to go to a hot spring. Risa celebrates, while Itami looks at Rory, who sits uninterested in what they were saying. He asks her if she doesn't want to go shopping, and she responds to him that she is fine, saying she is not interested in dresses other than her formal dress as a priestess. On getting to the boutique, her eyes shine as she sees clothes that she likes. The three of them try on dresses that they like, while Risa comments on them while Tomita takes Pina and Bozis to the library, where they see a lot more books, which surprises them. Tomita asks them what type of book they want, as they both raise the boys' love manga they were reading the night before, saying they are looking for such. Itami gets to go do his doujinshi research as he looks through some books. Itami goes outside after buying the doujinshi books. He wants to meet the defense minister, Kanu Taru, who talks with him as he reminisces about their first meeting. while Itami is more concerned about his security because he has no bodyguards with him. They walk together while they talk about the past. When the minister used to borrow manga, he explains one of the manga to him, saying it was great, which the minister affirms. Itami stops talking and gives the bag containing the book he just got to the minister, who thanks him and tells him that he can't go to the bookstore himself these days. While sighing heavily, the minister continues to explain why, and after they finish their conversation, he calls Itami officially and orders him to return to the original plan and go to the inn guarded by the SFG, which Itami responds positively to. At Shinjuku Station, they all meet up there with everything they have, as the girls try to explain why they have a lot of load, and Tomita explains to Itami that the princess and Bozes did not find the type of art they were looking for, as he sighs. After the conversations, he tells them to prepare to go to the hot spring, which they all respond to. At the Ministry of Defense, Colonel Ryuzaki welcomes the minister and introduces himself to him, while the minister sits and puts the bag containing the book Itami gave him on the table. At the Joint Staff Office Central Room Underground, Ministry of Defense, the members of the room instruct the soldiers on the battlefield at Hakone Forest about their target and the movements they should take, while Minister Kanu tells Colonel Ryuzaki that it is not how he envisioned war. Ryuzaki responds to him that it is modern war. As he explains everything about it, he orders the officers in the building to show the hot spring that Itami and the others are going, as they feature in one of the cameras walking towards the hot spring. The Special Force Group positions themselves to take on the enemies coming for Itami and the girls from another world. One of the officers uses his binoculars to watch them while they remove their clothes, but gets noticed by Rory, who alerts the others, while he reports to the headquarters about it, who notice his heart rate skyrocketed and instructs him to move to another marked location. The girls enter the hot spring to take a dip while some masked military men arrive at the area in a van. The headquarters instructs the special forces already positioned in the area that the Grail has been filed, which immediately notify the officers to commence the mission.